Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, from wherever you're joining in from. Welcome to today's live session. I remain Akpesiri Okolocha. I'm your Wholesome Family Solution Provider. I want to say a big thank you for joining in for today's section. It means a lot to us. I want you to invite someone, tag someone, and feel free to drop your questions, comments, and whatever. Welcome, everyone. So, today we'll be looking at a very interesting topic as it's our month of legacy, and we'll be looking at building a legacy of responsibility. Responsibility is very key, is a key element in raising a family, and is such an important legacy to be passed down to the next generation so that our efforts will not be wasted, and we'll look back and still, or when you look retrospectively, you should be able to say, oh, I thank God I was able to raise responsible family. So, and it's an honor to have with us here our own special guest, Mrs. Utitofon Luke-Aliga. She will be doing justice to this topic today, as she has a platform called Value for Legacy. She is very big on the issue of legacy, and I thought to invite her here to shed light on this topic because this is an area of passion, and I have seen her severally how she has expressed passion in this topic severally in her platform. So I want to welcome you, Ma. You're very much welcome.
Thank you very much, Coach Akpesiri. Thank you so much. I do not take for granted that I have to share the space with you. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. And I'm so happy with what you do at the Wholesome family. Yeah, Wholesome Family Hub. Thank you so much for helping families become better. That's why we are here. And I'm so glad that I'm here to talk to the young people from these families concerning this particular topic. Thank you.
Thank you, Ma. So, for the sake of time, I will be starting right away. Like I said, feel free to drop your comments, questions, and whatever you feel to share on the comment section, and we will do justice to it. So, you have the floor, Ma, for the next few hours.
All right. You said us. Okay, so
Minutes into hours.
no problem.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll be talking building a legacy of responsibility. But before I proceed, let me say hello to the audience. Hello to the audience of the Wholesome Family Hub. Good afternoon, and maybe morning and evening from wherever you are watching from. I am so privileged to be here to speak with you. And I believe that the message that I have today is for someone and that is going to impact on someone today. Okay, so I'm looking at this topic from the angle of, okay, so I created a subtopic and I called it Rising Above a Fractured Foundation. Rising Above a Fractured Foundation. Okay, your background is the first chapter of your life. But unfortunately or fortunately, it wasn't written by you. It was written by someone else. Okay. Many of us grew in families where responsibilities were either relegated or overdone. So we grew up from places, from families where responsibility was distorted. Okay. But your background, even though it was already written, does not define you because you've been given the power to change it. That's why we are here today. You may have started from a dysfunctional home, yes. You may have started from where responsibility was not shown to you the way it is supposed to be. But you must make sure not to pass that dysfunction to the next generation. We must make sure that we don't pass any form of dysfunction from our background to the next generation. So you may have been a victim, but I usually used to ask and love to ask, should you remain a victim? The response should be no. You should not remain the victim. Because even though your parents were the first writers of that book that is called you, you have the job to take over from where they stopped and redesign the next phase. Just like architects and builders do, when they see a building that has a wrong foundation, a building whose foundation is shaky, a building whose foundation is not well rooted, what do? Sometimes they tear it down and rebuild something with a solid foundation. The same thing applies to your life. If the foundation is not right, it is your responsibility as a young person to tear down every negative behavior, character, or traits that you grew up with and replace them with positive ones. It is your responsibility to tear down that wrong foundation, that negative foundation, and rebuild it and replace it with positive ones. So let's go on to a subtopic that says how your attitude to responsibility is shaped. That's taking us back to that first chapter that I talked about, how it is shaped. So your foundation matters when it comes to how you see obligations. What are obligations? Those things that you are expected to do. The way you're expected to carry yourself. Those are your obligations. So your foundation matters, whether you are proactive or whether you are laid back. This depends on how you were raised. It depends on your experiences at the beginning. Okay? So I classified this into two, and I called it, the first one is the shielded foundation, the shielded children, and then the parentified foundation, the parentified children. Remember, we're talking about how we saw responsibility growing up. So a shielded child, who is the shielded child? A shielded child is that child that was rarely, sometimes never allowed to handle tasks, to handle chores, to take on any responsibility, to take charge for themselves at any point in time. They were always protected from being accountable. They were always bailed out when they made mistakes. Somebody would always come there to save them, even when they could have been given the opportunity to try to save themselves. They never, or sometimes rarely experience the consequences for their actions. So I know children whose parents will never allow to pick a pin from the floor. You wake up in the morning, you just leave your bed and go your way. You come back, someone else has made everything neat. You dump your school bag anywhere, you dump your shirts anywhere. Someone else is always there to pick after you because they were paid to do that. You have maids everywhere, you have manservants everywhere. And there are still parents on this table. Many parents are still on that table. I know some, as I'm talking to you right now, no matter what you say to them about the impact that they are creating on these children, they have everything that it takes. But you know that interestingly, even those parents that don't have the money to pay maids, some of them are still on this table. They overwork themselves so that their children do not suffer. So you see a mother insisting that she has to clean up the whole space, insisting that she has to wash all the whole clothes, insisting that she has to do everything for her children, because either they are not, they will be too slow, or they don't know how to do it, or just finding excuses just to make sure that you do not take responsibility for yourself. These children will grow up. They grow up believing that someone else has to do the work, believing that someone else will do the work, believing that someone else will have to clean up their mess at any point in time. This is a dysfunction that you absorb, and this dysfunction makes you unsure of how to handle life. Many young people go about today not knowing, I used to call it not knowing their left from their right. They don't know what to do when situations or challenges arise. They need to be retaught. They need to be not retaught anyway. They need to be taught because they were not, put through these things in childhood. Then on the other extreme is the parentified child. So these children were raised with too much responsibilities. That's also a dysfunction. They were raised with too much responsibilities. They took on responsibilities of older people. Yes, let's use house chores. They cooked, they cleaned. Let's use the job they do for their siblings, younger siblings. They became parents for their younger siblings, even when their parents were still alive. Sometimes they even became mediators between father and mother when father and mother had challenges. So the father and the mother will quarrel, the whole children will hear, and this child becomes the mediator. Something that children have no business coming into. This child took in too much for his young life. The funny thing is that it looks overparenting a child looks like you're doing something good. And here now, I'm giving my child responsibility. The child has to work now. Is that not what people said? It's true, that's what we say. But should the child do too much? Remember, too much of everything. There's something wrong with too much of everything. So the child took on too much for his young life. He grew up believing that if he doesn't do, or let me just use it in the first person, the child grows up believing if I don't do it, things will fall apart. Or no one else can do it except me. This dysfunction made you so sure you could handle anything and everything. This case is very prevalent with first children, very prevalent with some first children, and then some other children that maybe when growing up, they showed that they had strength, they could handle things, and so the parents just capitalized on that and began to, overdo everything with them. But there's a trap. There's a trap in between these two. Whether you are overworked or whether you were shielded, these are both extremes. There is no healthy in any of these positions. And building a legacy of responsibility requires that you are neither on these two extremes. While hyper responsibility, that is the parentification aspect of it, is hyper responsibility. While hyper responsibility might look attractive, it is destructive. It gives you the false impression that you are the savior of everyone in the family, and that your job here is to fix the problems of everyone else. So many people are living like that. So many people. So you end up not being able to say no. You end up unable to say no because you believe that if you don't do it, everything will scatter. And this always leads to burnout. Always leads to burnout. On the other hand, is hyper responsibility, the shielded child, aka avoidance. You are avoiding everything. No, it's not your duty, it's not your work, it's another person's job. On the other hand, is avoidance on the other hand is created by being overshielded. Thus, you avoid responsibility. You blame others for your challenges. You even blame them for your choices. And you expect everyone else to get things done for you. Everyone else should do it for me. You blame the whole world. You blame the country. You blame your family. You blame even your siblings that are still struggling. You blame them. Okay? So the trap of the blame game, because
Wow. Well done, everyone. Yeah, so uh, I guess is having some network glitch, and so she's been able to establish that just like what the Bible say in Psalm 11 verse 3, that if the foundation be destroyed, what can the righteous do? So, welcome back, Ma. So, I was just trying to
thank you so
say,
much.
to emphasize where you started out from, that if the foundation be destroyed, what can the righteous do? Sometimes when we quote that scripture, we just do as it's destroyed now. There's nothing we can do. The righteous should build again. You can still do something. So I really love that part where you started out from, that build again. The fact that you met it like that doesn't mean it has to go on that way. Yeah, you can continue, Ma. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Okay,
Yeah.
so the trap of the blame game, because like I said, over responsibility, hyper responsibility looks like it is it is a good thing. It looks good because of course the child is responsible, isn't he?
Sorry, you were trying to
And
list the people that you blame, and that part was not clear. So if you can come over it again.
okay, yeah, that's where we are right now. The trap
Okay.
of the blame game. We are going to,
Okay,
yeah,
that's
the
fine.
trap of the blame game. So what I'm saying is that the two extremes, out of the two extremes, it looks like hyper um responsibility is something good as long as the child is responsibility we want. The child is responsible. But the truth is that this can also breed negativity. It is actually negative and can breed negativity. It can breed bitterness. The two extremes can breed bitterness. The two extremes can breed resentment. We'll get to how it happens. Okay. So, but let's just talk about the blame game. So, because these two are on the extremes, the one that is overworked or has been given too much responsibility will begin to feel resentment towards others. Forget that they may think that they are there to save the world, but they will surely at some point resent the people around them, the siblings, even the parents. Why do I have to do everything? And most often they burn out. They are overworking. I've been in that situation. I'm a first child, and you know what that means, especially the first girl child.
They are there.
And I overworked. I did a lot of. There's something my younger sister told me then. And she said, I said, why are you not, helping? You're not working. Why are you? And she said, am I the one that asked you to be the first child? Do you understand? So there was already that, is it a mindset,
Mentality.
that I'm supposed to, you as is being the first person, is supposed to be overworked. Note that up to today, I can't forget that statement. It created an impression. And it could lead to resentment if not well managed. Because yes, even though I feel I'm doing everything, I'm supposed to do everything, I still feel that these other people are they not supposed to be a part of it. That's on the other side.
So
Now on the
just
show,
just to add to what you just mentioned now, while you were talking, what got to me was the brother of the prodigal son. You know,
yeah,
part of what he felt was being overworked. He said, "I have lived with you all these years. I have done this, I've done that." The way he was sounding sounded like he was the overworked child.
of course.
So he
Yeah.
felt, I've done all this, and you've not even killed is a small
Yes.
animal for me. How much more?
Mm.
So I it just give me a picture, because sometimes, in as much as we say the prodigal son, the possibly the father didn't really play an holistic role, a balanced role in raising the children. We're just giving a picture now, because that son felt overworked, and that led to resentment. Even when the brother came back, he wasn't really happy. He felt, this one that have gone to waste everything, now you are doing this, me that have been here working. So it can actually lead to resentment, like you said. Thank you, ma.
So okay, so yeah. And the shielded child on the other hand, as he's growing, remember, he has grown from childhood, he's become independent, and probably has to go live in the hostel or dormitory, or probably has to go live alone in higher institution. And there is the services of the people that were always working for him is no longer available. So what happens? He keeps his space untidy, keeps his, and you, the parents, remember, you expect him because now you feel that he's older now, he's no longer a child. He's expected to do, you are expected, the young adult is expected to do what is supposed to be done. So you can come in and say, but are you not supposed to keep your room tidy? Maybe you pay him a visit, and then you see his room so untidy. Are you not supposed to keep your space tidy? And he's like, there's somebody is supposed to do it for me. I didn't find anybody to do it. And you forget that you are the one who raised that behavior. You are the one who created that pattern. Why he's paying you for expecting him to tell him from that. But you are not listening to me. Whether you are 13, you are the one I'm here for. Them is mine. The truth is, it's not your fault. On the other hand, you can say, I can't undo what I didn't start. That's the blame game. And it's a trap. So you relax. Because once you begin to shift the blame, you are going to relax. You are going to think that truly it is another person's responsibility. So many other people can come up with it is my parents' fault. I was raised this way. I've heard that a lot. It's the way my parents raised us now. So we'll continue like that. That's just how we are in my family. Someone will be plain, I don't want to use the word. Somebody will be plain, should I say lazy, like plain lazy. And the person will say, that's how it is done in our family. We don't like to work. And then somebody will tell us, and that person will say, it's in their blood like that, so it's in their lineage. You can't change them, nothing can change them. But I'm here to tell you that if anybody makes you believe that you cannot change something about your life, the person told you or sold you a big lie. The person sold you a big lie. Let me tell you what blame is. Blame is a hypnotic drug. Blame is a hypnotic drug. Blame makes you feel good. It makes you feel good. Because at the point you begin to blame someone else, your brain gets the signals that the situation on ground is not my responsibility. So you begin to feel relieved. And then that part of it is off. It is not your duty. I want to repeat that. Blame is a hypnotic drug. It sends a signal to your brain that this is not my job. It is someone else's responsibility. And because of that, you feel relieved, you feel relaxed, and let things go on as they are. But there are dangers in the blame game. One of them is that it shifts responsibility away from you. It shifts responsibility away from you. The second is that it creates bitterness within you instead of growth. Since you are blaming someone else, you feel bitter when that thing is not done. And instead of creating room for growth, what happens is that you can't move, deteriorate. And then number three, it robs you of the power to change because you're blaming the person. You're bitter that the person is not taking action. You lose the power to make any change in your life. So when you blame others, you hand them the key to your future. You give them the power to take control of your destiny. And I want you to know this. Blame is a prison, whereas responsibility unlocks freedom. Blame is a prison, but the moment you take responsibility, you unlock yourself to freedom. The power of responsibility. Let me start by letting you know this. You have been given the power to choose. You have been given the power to choose. I'm a Christian, so I'm going to use the Bible here. In Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 19, Deuteronomy, it states clearly, that is Moses speaking. Moses speaking. This day I call the heavens and the earth as witnesses against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Now choose life so that you and your children may live. Did you notice that he said, choose life? Choose. He used the word choose. He has given you the power. There's life, there's death, there's knowledge, there is blessing, there's curses. You are admonished to choose life, but there is a choose there. So it is your responsibility to go to the path of death or to the path of life. It is your responsibility to take the blessings or to take the curses. It is your responsibility. And as long as you have reached the age of maturity, some countries see 13 years as the age of maturity, young adults. Some countries see 15, some 18, and some still take it at 23. But as long as you have reached that age of maturity, you have been given the power to make choices. So no matter what the chapter 1 of your life was, it is now your duty to either pick up the pen and write the next chapters, or decide to drop the pen and remain in the chapter 1. Then I'll take Genesis. I'm going to read another Bible portion that still shows you that we were given the power. You was given the power. Genesis chapter 2, 16 and 17. This is God. That's the first command in the Bible. That was the first ever command in the Bible by God. And it says, and the Lord God commanded the man, you are free to eat from any tree in the garden, but you must not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. For when you eat from it, you will certainly die. But we all know what happened after that. God said you must not. It's looking like it is compulsory that you must not. But notice that he didn't take the power from Adam. He gave him still the power to choose whether to eat that fruit or not to eat that fruit, or to eat from that tree or not to eat from that tree. So we have been given the power to choose. So you have no excuse. You just have no excuse. That's why I tell young adults, you have no excuse. If your parents didn't do right by you, you have the choice to change the narrative. You have the power to choose to walk the path, the right path. So responsibility means owning your choices now that you have grown. Responsibility is you owning your choices, regardless of what transpired in the past. So responsibility is your decision to rise above dysfunction and rewrite your story. Becoming responsible is refusing to let the bad beginning dictate your end. So you take the power from wherever it was, take the power and move from, see what they did to me, see what they did to me. It's my parents now. Move from that to watch what I'll build from here. Move from see what they did to me to watch what I build from here. You see the confidence that watch what I built from here made me have, than see what they did to me. You are not responsible for how you were raised, but you are responsible for how you live now. So becoming a generational shifter, because that is what you are. That is who you have to become. We've come from that family of dysfunction. We are here. Are we going, or are we going to change the narrative?
All right. I guess the network is acting up again. So we've been able to. Are you
Okay,
here, ma? Are you here, ma?
I'm back.
Okay,
Yes, I
welcome back.
am.
Yes, welcome
Thank
back.
you.
Yeah.
Okay, so becoming a generational shifter. To move from dysfunctional to functional, you must possess, in fact, you must, rather, you must cultivate certain qualities. Because, like I said, you're coming from a dysfunction and you cannot continue in that dysfunction. In fact, I'm not asking whether you want to continue that dysfunction, but I'm telling you that you cannot continue in that dysfunction. You have to shift. You have to cause a shift from what was to what is. So here are certain qualities that you require to become a generational shifter. Number one is vision. You should have in your mind's eyes where you would rather be instead of where you are at the moment. You should always have it at every point in your life. You should always be, where would I be? Where do I want to be? Where do I want to see yourself? That is why most times we do what is called the vision board. We create the vision board, just where we want to be. We create our vision statement. By so time, I want to be here. So year, I want to be here. So to become a generational shifter from dysfunctional to functional, you have to create a picture of where you want to be. What is your vision? Is it to remain at the level where your parents were able to take you to? In the rancor, in the quiet resentment, that where you want to remain? In the unsettled fights and quarrels? Or is it in the avoidance? Vision is going to propel you from those places to somewhere better. That's what we are all about at this webinar. Or do you envisage, do you see forgiveness? Do you see openness? Do you see having the hard conversations? Do you see communication? And do you see being able to voice out how you feel? The love you have for your family, being able to say it. Most of us came from where we can't say anything like I love you. Most of us come from where we cannot validate each other. Do you see yourself moving from there to where these things become normal? A generational shifter doesn't just change the family's financial status, they change the family's character profile. That's why you didn't hear me talk about money. I say money is not everything, but money is very good, okay? Now, most times, what we look up to as being people that shift our generations are those that move us from poverty to wealth, just that. But the point is, the legacy you are keeping, is it just about that? It is about the character that you build. It's about the character that the next generation of people have. Okay. Then number two quality that you must um, cultivate is uncompromising teachability. Uncompromising teachability. You should be ready and willing to subject yourself to the process of unlearning unwanted patterns, learning new patterns, and applying these learned principles to your life every single day. You should be teachable. You should be ready to learn. You should be really ready to relearn after learning. You should be willing to unlearn those ones that are not of any use to you and the next generation. So this would involve learning new values, and unlearning old ones. But here is the point to note. You cannot unlearn new patterns in just a few days or in just this one webinar. These toxic habits were habits that you learned over years, 13, 14, 15, 30. You don't expect to unlearn them in this 1 hour webinar or in a 1 hour session. Okay? You must be willing to sit under mentorship. You must be willing to read books on emotional intelligence, books on other personal development. You must be willing to allow your mind to be thoroughly reconstructed, because that is what you need. What it took 20 years to build cannot be, just undone in an hour or even in 2 years. That's the truth. So it can take years, but the good news is this: the moment you begin to accept responsibility, the changes begin to show up little by little. And that is the way you build legacy. Legacy is not just one go, I built legacy. No. The moment you accept that it's time to make a change, you find out that your life also begins to change little by little. And not the number three um, to cultivate, the number three quality to cultivate is courage to remodel. The courage to remodel. The behavior from your chapter 1 was modeled to you. It was. It was modeling. They were doing it, you saw it, and all that. So you need to cultivate the courage to remodel to the next generation. Remember, we are still talking about the generational shifter. Because it takes courage to do that. It takes courage to come from, this is how everybody is doing it in this family. Why do you want to change? This, we grew up with this. Now, how come? In our family, men are strong, they don't cry. How come you want to show emotion? And for you to model that, it requires courage. Like, they will laugh at me, they will laugh at you, they will scorn you, they will do that. No. So sometimes, because one thing you should understand is, yes, the fear will be there. What will my family say? What will these people say? What will my kinsmen say? What will my village people say? The fear will be there. But as a generational shifter, you must be courageous. Sometimes fear of leaving the unknown, the fear of leaving the known to the unknown may discourage or weaken you. It may discourage or weaken your resolve to change from the status quo. But for you to shift your generation, for you to shift it, you cannot continue to recycle irresponsibility. So you have to look at the toxic traits in your family that your family calls normal, those things they call normal. You have to look at them and reject them outrightly. For some families, it's financial recklessness. The father will just make money and the next thing, boom, it has finished. Maybe he went to drink with his friends. Reject it and learn financial shrewdness. For some families, it's stonewalling. Where malice keeping is normal. If we have a small problem today, we will stay for 1 month. We don't talk to the wife or we don't talk to the children. Some parents even keep malice with their children. Reject it and choose communication and vulnerability. If gossip was that in thing in your family, reject it and choose openness. If someone does something to you, there's no need going to call Ada to tell Ada what Benita did to you. Whereas you and Benita can communicate in the family. Why is it that Ada is the one that has to know when Benita has not even known that she has wronged you? Okay, so you reject that behavior and adopt openness. The number 4 quality to cultivate is forgiveness. This one, Remember, we were blaming, talking about blaming. We blame our parents, our siblings, every other person except ourselves. And one of the reasons you keep blaming is a lack of forgiveness. Many young people today carry the very heavy weight of resentment and unforgiveness against their parents for how they were raised. Many. But healing can only come through forgiveness. The shift that you need to make for the next generation can only come from a heart that is light with love, peace, and joy. And these are some of the fruits you reap from forgiving, whether actual or perceived wrongs. Because sometimes we are actually even angry at perceived wrongs. You might say your parents did this, but your parents didn't do it with intention. They did it anyway. We'll come to that. Okay? So forgiveness is not a gift you give your parents because they deserve it. Forgiveness is the evacuation of the toxic waste from your foundation. Forgiveness. It is not like a gift. You are doing them something, you are doing them a favor. You are doing that. No. It is evacuation of toxic waste from your foundation. The anger, the bitterness, all from there. When you forgive them, you lighten up the heart. So you cannot, because you need to forgive because you cannot build a clean legacy with a baggage of resentment about. And here's the mindset shift that I want you to have. Here's the mindset shift that is very important for you to have, for you to be able to, 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 to be that person that shifts your generation from a shaky foundation to a solid one. So for you to get to that point where you shift the narrative, for you to get to the point where you shift the narrative of your background from what is to what should be, you must intentionally create a mindset or a mental shift. For without this mental shift, there will absolutely be no generational shift. And so you have to move from, I tagged it the voice of blame to the voice of responsibility. So the voice of blame will say, it's not my fault. That's the voice of blame. The voice of responsibility will say, I can make this change. The voice of blame will say, my parents failed me. The voice of responsibility will say, my parents operated at the level of their exposure. I forgive them and I will do better. The voice of responsibility, of blame will say, I wish my parents did better. The voice of responsibility will say, they did the best they knew. I will do better. The voice of blame says, I can't undo what was done to me. The voice of responsibility will say, I cannot change my past, but I am responsible for my future. The voice of blame says, that's just how it is in my family. That's how we do it here. The voice of responsibility says, it might have started before I was born. It might be the way they did it before I was, or while I was here, but it ends with me.
Hmm.
The voice of blame will say, because of them, I am traumatized. But the voice of responsibility, because of me, the next generation will not need healing. When that, do you notice how you felt when you spoke the voice of responsibility? It gives you the power, the courage. It makes you want to get up and act. But that of blame makes you want to, avoid taking charge or taking responsibility. So here are practical steps to build healthy responsibility. Remember at the beginning we talked about unhealthy responsibility. So here are practical steps to build healthy responsibility. To have a healthy and balanced sense of responsibility, you have to apply these things that I'm going to mention. Number one, define your circle of control. Define your circle of control. You are responsible for your choices, your healing, your character, and your reactions. You are not responsible for your parents' marriage, for your siblings' behavior, for other people's happiness. It is not your responsibility. Those of you who were over labored, overworked, who were on the hyper responsibility side, this is for you. You are not responsible for every other person. You're responsible for your own choices, your healing, your character, and your reactions. The rest, the other people will take care of it. Number two, rescript your language. I think we've done that already when I talked about the mindset shift, okay? Rescript your language. Move from the victim language to the victor's language. Now be teachable. Seek mentorship, read books, learn new values. That's what I do with Values for Legacy Academy, helping you to cultivate new values. Now, set boundaries. Refuse to repeat destructive family patterns. By choosing discipline, even if there was no known structure in your family, choose discipline. Even if lying was the norm, everywhere is lie. Your mother will lie, your father will lie, your siblings will lie. Everybody, you will lie. Choose honesty. It is a choice, remember? And we're talking about taking responsibility. So even if you never experience kindness, choose kindness. If laziness was the bedrock in your family, choose hard work. It's in your hands to choose. Choose peace, even if you grew up in chaos. Choose calm, even if gidi kata kata was what was everywhere in your family. Choose calm. Number four, take small daily actions. That's number four, please. Take small daily actions. Make responsible choices one day at a time or one at a time. Legacy is built in your daily actions. Number six, model responsibility. Show your younger siblings, show your peers, like peer mentorship and all that change is possible. Remember, you are shifting generation. So when you begin, your siblings will also watch. Even your older siblings, they will be seeing you. By the time you know it, they will join you. What is that thing that's making you like this? Come and show us the way. That's how you begin to shift the generation. Your peers, to just model it, show off that you're learning these things, and show them that change is possible. You are not responsible for the trauma that broke you. However, you are 100% responsible for the healing required to rebuild you. You are not responsible for the trauma that broke you. It's granted, we all know that. But you are 100% responsible for the healing that is required to rebuild you. Now, even if you didn't get anything from all I've said, I want you to get these three things. One, God, yes, He gave your parents the right to raise you. He did. But He didn't give them the right to vote on your final judgment. God gave your parents the right to raise you. but He didn't give them the right to vote on your final judgment. That is why He gave you a brain, a will, and a conscience. He gave you a choice, the power to choose. Number two, when you stand before your children 15 to 20 years from now, your children will not ask you what your parents did to you. They will ask you what you did for them. I want to repeat that. When you stand before your children 15 to 20 years from now, they will not ask you what your parents did to you. Rather, they will ask you what you did for them. Number three, your legacy is not built when you are 70. For those of you who think you are still small, I'm 20 now, I'm 30. I, I still have a long way to go. No. Your legacy is not built when you are 70. It is built from the day you are able to make choices. And if you choose the path of a generational shifter, you are deciding that your children will never have to recover from their childhood, just as you're trying to recover. Your children will never have to recover from their childhood. I think that's the best heritage you can give or inheritance you can give to your children. Here are my final words. Responsibility is not about your past, it is about your future. It is about building a legacy that your children and generations after you will thank you for. Let the chain break here. Let the anger stop here. Let the poverty of mind, spirit, and values dry up in your generation. Take the steering wheel. Declare to yourself this afternoon, no one else has the right to my choices. I am taking responsibility and I will make my future generations proud. Thank you for joining me, for joining us to this point. Thank you, Akpesiri, the Wholesome Family Coach. Yeah, I appreciate you for the opportunity to share the space with you. God bless you. And the job you do for families around the world.
Thank you so much, Coach Utitofon, Luke-Aliga. Um, by the way, she's a lecturer, so you could see the lecturing spirit, um, so she has done justice to this topic. But this thing called responsibility, it's you were able to divide it into two parts. You said responsibility. There are some that were the parentified children, and so
The sharing
when,
voice.
when, when yeah when you're a parentified child, uh, somehow there's a way it impacts on your actions or reaction when you grow older. So you see yourself wanting to control everything. And if you are not careful, even your spouse will find it difficult. Even you want to control your spouse, you want to micromanage everybody because that was how you were just trained to, you were the fixer, right? So because you need to understand, a book say why you act the way you do, right? And my current book coming up, it says the roots of your reactions. You need to understand some of the character you display. Where did it come from? So let me give practical example. I lived with my dad, right? And I had a stepmom, and so never lived with my mom. So I lived with my dad. I had a stepmom, and after some few years, about 7 years, my stepmom broke up with my dad and she needed to go. Ha! I was like, wow, I've been able to integrate into this family and now she's leaving. So when she left, I realized I became a daughter to my father, Mind you, my father gave birth to me when he was 54, so I was the old age child of my daughter. So at this point now, he was approaching 70 or so, losing a wife now. I became the daughter. I was serving the role of a daughter, a wife, you know, and all my siblings, because I was the old age daughter. All my siblings were not my contemporaries. They've grown. In fact, the last born is 18 years older than me. You see the gap. So they were all married with children, grandchildren, like that. So it's not like a system where they are around, you know. So I saw myself playing the role of a daughter, a wife, a becoming a pharmacist. Only you are a doctor, you are so I saw myself playing too many roles at a time, so it affects in a way where if you are not very careful or intentional, you want to control situation. You at your workplace, you want to control everything. You want to micromanage everybody. You feel you are the fixer, you're the one that knows how to fix everything and put everything in this proper place. Or you are married, you want to micromanage your spouse. You want to parent your spouse.
That's
Want to
true.
tell your spouse what to do. So you must actually know how some of the responsibility you have picked up growing up has impacted into the way you react or the way you relate with people. Yeah, so that's just one light I want to bring to it. And in another light, we also see situation where children were not privileged. Your parents didn't really teach you. You didn't know much, right? So that's where the place of learning, like you said, that teachable spirit comes to play, where you learn what was not modeled to you. So, and also we also see the kind of parents that will say, what happened to me will not happen to my children. And in that
Yeah.
way, you become very
That's true.
overprotective
Yeah. Yeah. They
to
are the
your
ones
children.
that shape the children.
Yes, so yes, that's the shielders. Now.
Everything.
You are
Mm.
shielding your children, so much so that if your child is staying with someone and they give them certain responsibility, you feel, they are using my children or they are
Yeah.
abusing them, or you're just quick to react because you feel, well, I don't want what happened to me to happen to my children. Nobody should overuse my children, that kind of mentality. So it's also, so we are bringing this so that we can all learn. We are, yeah, this is a learning ground for us, so we can all learn. First of all, you first need to understand yourself, understand your origin. You know what played out in your childhood. You knew some of the things you copied, and you were able to say, oh, now I know where the problem is coming from, and this is the strategy I need to take. So actually, responsibility is the bridge between your past trauma and your transformation. you know you've gone through those things, but it is that point where you come to the middle and say, no, I understand this was what happened, but this is the step I'm going to take going forward. Because you can't, the popular saying say, you can't do things the same way and expect a different result. So
Mm.
is the courage to dare to do things differently. So I also like where you were coming from, where you said you need to, there's a kind of doggedity you need to change the narrative, because that's not what people have always known things to be. Now you are coming to do things differently. You will hear sometimes people will say, is it you? Or sometimes they will call you name. You show yourself too much. You do as if you know everything, right? Then
Mm.
sometimes they may say, you won't you just respect yourself, won't you just put your,
Mhm.
so they may have a way of, when you want to act responsible, sometimes it comes with, you need to be courageous, which is one of the character we're also trying to build in
Yeah.
you. God told Joshua, he said, be strong and be of good courage, because you are going to, what you want to do now, nobody have dared that part.
Mm.
So you need a certain level of courage so that people don't talk you down, you
Mhm.
know because we now live in a society where the people doing the right things, they are the one that they call wrong. They call names. You understand? So
Yeah. Yeah.
they celebrate the people doing the wrong thing. So
The
you
wrong
need
thing.
that courage to stand out, even if nobody is
Is
praising
watching.
you. You know that this is the path I want to take, and I know. And funny enough, if you go through it, if you follow that path, those people that are calling you names now, they will celebrate and say, he did this one. So everybody wants to relate with success. Yeah, I don't know if you
Yes.
want to say one.
Yeah, that's what it is. Everybody will want to relate with success because, like it requires courage, because everybody loves the status quo. Everybody loves to leave things the way they were. So when you begin to make those changes, like you said now, a lot of people will start. Why don't you just? You are doing too much. You too do. She's doing too no, or he's doing too no, and all that. And that is one way that begins to create fear in you, and you start double guessing yourself, or second guessing yourself. And
Hmm.
should I not? Is it not best I just leave this thing the way it was so that everybody will rest? Nobody will disturb me. I won't disturb anybody. But if you have that mindset, you are not going to be able to change anything, and you will continue to remain in your resentment. You continue to remain in your unforgiveness. And one thing I used to teach young people is you must for the truth is that between parents and young adults, forgiveness should come in. Even parents themselves should forgive their young adults. Young adults should forgive their parents because many parents, like you said, were ignorant of what they were doing. In fact, I think I mentioned it where I say it's the level of their own exposure. They did what they did at the level of their exposure. They did what they did at the level of their knowledge. If they had higher knowledge, if they were exposed to higher knowledge, maybe they would have done differently. Okay, so if you continue to remain in that, with if you refuse to pick up courage and begin to make the changes because of what people will say, you will continue to remain where you continue to blame people, blame your parents, and the resentment, unforgiveness, it will worsen the family's issues, to worsen the family's problems, and you people will go nowhere. You will just remain there. So
it,
that's
it, it,
really
it can even result to death, because by the time you resent your parents, you won't honor them. You are only heaping up curses upon yourself.
important.
So it's a lot. So, and also there's also a part to, like you said, you also mentioned a situation where you now see yourself wanting to become a people pleaser. You just can't say no because you are used to doing everything. Yeah, how can I tell them? Me that day. So this is it. So when you are an overly responsible child, right? If I should put it that way, permit me to say that, uh, you now feel you gain appraisal or love by performing. So you always want to perform. You want to. So this is the performer now. You want to perform. You want to in your workplace. You want to. You want to impress. So that manager, everybody will say you are the this, you are the that. I'm not saying don't strive to become the best in whatever you do. But what's driving your motive?
Yeah.
So because what we're about now is to give a balance so that you understand and you live in a state where you are not compelled. You are just being you. Yes. So when you get to that point where you become a people pleaser, you want to, they tell you, a manager say, go and do this, even if it will impact on your family or some of the role will impact, you can't say no. You want to do it so that they know that it is you. So it's coming from somewhere. You acted the role of a parentified child. That's where that is coming from. So, but it's time to say no. So, ability to say no to some things doesn't make you irresponsible. I also want to put a balance here that most times we think responsibility is about paying bills. Let me say for fathers now, right? I'm very responsible. I work, I pay the bills, I do my part. Oh, you understand. So we don't see responsibility being more than that. So responsibility, like you said, is ability to own your actions. Own your actions, oh, I did this. And also being responsible enough to acknowledge your mistake to your children. It's also a part of responsibility.
Being vulnerable.
Or being vulnerable, like you mentioned. Oh, I did. Oh, great. Especially when it's of an appropriate age. You should be able to
Mm.
communicate to them. Oh, I did this. So, although my father made me do this, but this was how I now, you should be able to at least you take a part of, be able to acknowledge, yeah, well, although the environment was like this, but if I had not gone like this, it wouldn't have given privilege to what happened. So ability to own your action is very, very important. And also to manage your emotions, to keep your word is a part of responsibility. That, oh, I've said this and I'm going to strive to see how I can fulfill my word. Is part of responsibility. Contributing positively to the family is a part of responsibility. So it's not just I've gone to work. No, how are you? Your presence in the home is also part of responsibility. So, and like lastly, like you said, correcting unhealthy patterns. That, oh, this was modeled to me, and I'm not going to continue it. Oh, I came from a polygamous home. I'm not going to continue that cycle. I will break that cycle. Does it mean the marriage will be rosy, ice cream licking? Not really, not necessarily. But that resolve, that initial resolve you've made, that this is what I want to do, this is how my life will go, keeps you on check. So responsibility is a whole lot. And the key word with responsibility, you can't talk about responsibility without accountability. Is very, very important. You need to be accountable. That's where the teachability comes in. You should be able to say, oh, I'm going to be accountable to this person to teach me some of the things that I don't know. And discipline, stewardship, emotional maturity, dependable character. So these are the things. So when we say be responsible, it's beyond chores, if in as much as, like we said, these are age appropriate. We're not giving you more what is more than you. So for a child now, a 2-year, 3-year-old child, astros can be a key word when it comes to responsibility. But as you grow older, you see that it's beyond astros. Your emotional maturity, emotional intelligence, just some certain things comes to play. So I really want to say a big thank you for bringing light to this topic. So just as a form of a question, if for those who are you are in this state where you feel you've overworked yourself, and you're trying to heal from that burnout, and the resentment and everything that follows, what's your encouragement to people who are in that situation?
Okay. So what I would just want you to do is change your the way you look at things, the way you look at, your perspective. That's what I want you to do. Look at things differently. You were overworked, you are full of resentment, you are this. I think I mentioned those things already, where you change your mindset from, okay, my parents, is about mindset. That's really where it starts from. So you have to begin to think more positive than negative. Okay. In my own case, what I do is to just shift the blame. I don't even blame. That is, I remove the blame aspect, pull out the blame aspect. Okay, my parents probably they didn't you look for excuses for them. Look for excuses for them. Okay, probably they didn't know what they were doing. So that's why they did this to me. And since they may not even know that they did wrong, so don't expect anything from them. Don't expect apology. Don't expect anything for now. Just work on yourself first. I told you, you are your responsibility. Okay, they are not. Probably they don't still understand what they've done. It's not your business right now. Think of changing the blame to, okay, they did not know what they did. Like I said, get excuses. Say they did not know what they did. So let me correct what it is they did. And I don't have to blame them for what they did. So I forgive them. You can forgive someone even without saying it to them. You can forgive someone from your heart. You just sit there and say, I forgive my parents for what they did to me. I'm going to pick up the pieces. I'm going to pick up the bricks where it is and begin to lay it right. Okay. So what I wanted is just to think differently, think positively. Okay. It happened. It has happened. But now this is how I am going to, readjust everything. I'm going to change everything. Put it in your hands. That's why I said you have the power of choice. You have the power of choice to decide not to resent, to have that resentment anymore. When the thoughts of blame comes, use a positive thought to change it. It's very possible. It's just for you to train your mind. And then focus on the word of God. Forgiveness is key. If you must say you are a child of God, forgiveness is key. You have to have a forgiving spirit because the whole thing is going to boil down to forgiveness, releasing yourself from resentment, understanding that they did not do it on purpose, understanding that they did it because they thought it was good. They actually thought it was good. Those that shielded you thought it was good. They were doing you good. Those that over gave parentified you actually thought they were doing you good. That was what they thought. So now it's in your hands to decide that, oh, they didn't know. So I have known now. Let me begin to change it. Forgive is one. When you forgive, the resentment begins to wane away. And then do not blame. Do not stop the blame. Stop the blame. When you stop the blame, forgiveness will begin to come. The resentment will go. And then you begin to. And again, I told you that it is for yourself. Don't insist that they change. Don't try to change them. Okay? Don't try to change them. Change yourself first. By the time they begin to see the changes in you, they will begin to understand. And you might get to the point where they will call you and apologize to you. That's what I
Okay.
will mindset.
Yeah. Thank you, Ma. And lastly, for those um, who feel disadvantaged because due to, let's say, their background now, whether they were the parentified children or the ones that were not taught, right? And you feel disadvantaged because you really can't turn back the hands of time. You know, you are struggling with life now because of those uh, character that were not invested in you at your workplace, in your marriage. You just feel everywhere you go, you feel that this is my lack of irresponsibility. This is how it's affecting me, and you can still, like you said, you are still able to trace it down to say, if they taught me, if I had known better. So such kind of person, how do you actually outgrown that situation and become the best version of yourself, knowing that because it's this irresponsibility, it becomes so loud where everybody is complaining about it. You go to work, this person is complaining about it. You in your marriage, your spouse is complaining, everybody is just on you. Whereas you copied it from, or sometimes it was just modeled. That was what was. So how do you now, like you mentioned that it took you some years to build these habits. How do you, what are the practical steps you can take at that point to undo and actually pick up yourself again in the shortest possible time?
So while you were talking, I remember that I have someone, a colleague anyway, because you talked about workplace, a colleague who hardly gets along with every other colleague. No colleague, like we have that one person. And whenever we're talking about this person, I would say this person has not accepted that there is a problem. Because they're like, she can't change. I say, no. The moment this person accepts that I have a problem, the person is going to begin to heal from that child problem. This is it. Because I used to refer, I said, her behavior is from her parents, from parenthood. The behavior is clear, everything is from parents. Because most times, most of our challenges are from there. It's just when we come up, we decide to begin to change. So, what I would advise the person is first, recognize that there is a problem. Recognize that you have a challenge. Recognize also that that is where it is coming from. Then resolve to seek help. You can't do anything alone. You can't do it. You can't stand and say, I succeeded alone. So resolve to seek help. That is why we have mentors. That is why we have people like you and I. So seek our help. Come to Coach Akpesiri of the Wholesome family. Come to me, okay? And then we begin from there. But first, you must resolve that you need the help and then find the help. That's why this program is on air. So if you were already thinking of, looking for help, help is here. Okay? Subscribe to our programs, subscribe to, the courses, buy books. Help is here. When once you begin that journey, like I said, you've started towards changing the narrative. And then again, subject yourself to learning, be willing to make changes, be teachable. Just is a ready heart. When the heart is ready to accept, there's nothing that can stop it from changing. There's nothing that can stop you from shifting things from how you didn't like it to the way you would rather they be. I think that's just where it starts from before we talk about the other process.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ma. So we've been able to establish that responsibility begins with you. Own your actions, stop playing the blame game, and take intentional, deliberate steps to change the narrative and leave a healthy legacy, family legacy for your children. So it is possible for your children to model a new family life of being responsible. It's actually possible. So I want to encourage us, wherever you are in your, let me call it, your responsibility profile, whether you were the parentified child. So there is room for change and growth. So I want to say a big thank you to our guest speaker, Coach Utitofon Luke-Aliga, for bringing light to this topic. Thank you so much, Ma. And
Thank
to our wonderful audience, we want to thank you for your time. Thank you for your like, your share, your comments. It means a lot to us. If you know somebody that needs to hear this, a young adult that needs to hear this, please do well to share to them. And even if you are old, yes, it's not you are not too old to be responsible. So you don't start at that point where you say, my time has passed, I beg, let things just continue like that. You can still steer the wheel again to the right direction as long as you have breath in your lungs. So I want to say a big thank you and God bless you. Till we meet again, I want to say bye to everyone. Bye, Ma. Thank you. God bless you, Ma.
thank you so much. Bye,
Bye,
everyone.
everyone. Thank you.